Hello music fans, you're watching Death by Unicorn, where we talk about metal, rock, and prog music, and this is New Music's Alive in 2025. I'm going to talk about how many albums now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 albums that came out on November 7th, and give my quick first impressions of them, and I'll talk about them in my order of preference. Starting with a deluxe version here. I don't normally talk about these deluxe version releases, but this is a band that I love. It's Caligula's Horse with Bloom, the 10th anniversary edition. They're an amazing Australian progressive metal band. And of course, the original Bloom album is already a masterpiece. So this one is a masterpiece as well. It features some unreleased bonus tracks from that time period, including a cover of Across the Universe by the Beatles, which is great. And I just absolutely love Caligula's Horse and this album. I'm not always a huge fan of the idea behind these types of deluxe versions of albums that have bonus tracks. I usually just prefer the original albums. But I made an exception here and I checked this out. And of course, like I said, it's a masterpiece. The original album is a masterpiece, and this contains that plus 4 new tracks. The bonus tracks are just the Beatles cover and then some pre-production demos of 3 of the tracks that were already on the album, so kind of they get repeated. You can hear the earlier versions of them. So it's not really essential, Caligula's Horse. There's no truly new Caligula's Horse composed tracks on here. It is just very cool, though, to hear the pre-production demos. Their demos sound better than most bands' fully finished product. But the best new thing here is the Beatles cover, and just the fact that this original album is as amazing as it is. So while this is a masterpiece, I'm not going to count releases like this for my year-end list video, but I did want to mention it in case some Caligula's Horse fans watch this video. Definitely check that out. Now one that will qualify for my year-end list, it's Astronoid with Stargod. This is the 4th album by this American band, and I guess it's progressive post-metal. It's got shoegaze, even black gaze, dream pop, thrash metal influences, a very unique sound, and I'm going to put this one in my near masterpiece tier. I love this band, Astronoid. They have very melodic vocals, somewhere between dream pop and emo vocals, but with more of a progressive post-metal style of composition with some black gaze and thrash. And the 4th track on this album is called Third Shot. That was a single. It's just beautiful. It's my favorite on the album right now. And this album just has really catchy vocal hooks with all clean vocals, so there's no screaming here. Pretty accessible. I think you could play this around normal people and they'd like it, although it's still pretty. Some of the riffs are heavy and there's blast beats and there's progressive compositions, but there's great atmosphere and emotion, great guitar riffs, even a bunch of killer guitar solos too, that are melodic and sometimes reminiscent of like 80s guitar solos. There's synthesizers as well, bringing in that 80s sound. And there's moments that remind me of Devin Townsend with these big wall of sounds, moments that remind me of Deftones and Death Heaven with their ability to combine the big chunky metal riffs with atmospheric beauty. And some moments remind me even of 80s pop and hard rock, arena rock, hair metal with their anthemic vocal lines and some flashy guitar solos. And some moments remind me of like emo pop punk like Blink-182, Moneen. There's moments with simple, slower 4/4 pop drum beats, but also moments of blast beats and moments of progressive drumming. And it's very unique and captivating. It's full of earworms and keeps making me want to listen to it again. So if that sounds good to you, check out Stargod by Astronoid. Next up, I want to talk about Jonas Lindberg and The Other Side with Time Frames, the 3rd album by this Swedish band, and it's progressive rock. This one's a near masterpiece too. I knew that if it could be as good as their first 2, it could be a contender for my year-end top 40 albums. And I just love everything this band has done. Luckily, they maintain that level of quality. They put out another near masterpiece here. I think I do like their 2nd album slightly better than this 3rd album, but I do prefer this to the debut. but they're all so close in quality and very consistent, it's hard to say. This ends with an over 17-minute prog epic called The Wind, which is awesome. And it also has an instrumental track called Groovin', which is nice. And throughout the album, there's moments with both male vocals from Jonas himself and another Jonas, Sundqvist, as well as female vocals from Jenny Storm. And I enjoy all three of their vocals. It brings a nice variety to this album. So if that sounds good to you, check out Time Frames by Jonas Lindberg and The Other Side. Next up is Pupil Slicer with their album Fleshwork, the third album by this Mathcore band from the UK. This is Mathcore with alternative, indie, post-rock, black metal, and death metal influences. And I'm putting this one in my excellent tier. I love the first two albums by Pupil Slicer, so I expected this to be a strong contender for my year-end top 40 if it could be as good as their last one. This is for fans of Rollo Tomasi. They're an all-female fronted they're a female-fronted metal band who combines mathcore, brutality, and intensity with occasional touches of beauty, atmosphere, and catchiness. This album, though, leaned even more into brutality than the last one by Pupil Slicer, and I think I would have liked it better if they had a bit more melody. It's still an excellent tier album, but the last one for me was a near masterpiece, and I particularly liked some of their more melodic vocals. This one is probably more than 95% harsh vocals and has only a few clean vocal moments, whereas I felt the last one had a better balance there. But this band does that heavy, brutal mathcore intensity better than almost any band going today. It's up there with the greatness of bands like Rollo Tomasi, Callous Dowboys, and Wilt Wither. So if that sounds good to you, check out Pupil Slicer and their album Fleshwork. Next up, I've got Smalltape and their album Tangram, the fourth album by this German progressive art rock band. They've got jazz and pop influences. And I'm putting this in my excellent tier. I thought the last album by Smalltape called The Hungry Heart from 2021 was very good. And I like this new one even better. Lots of great acoustic guitar playing, lots of jazzy moments, cool odd time signatures, great songwriting. Check it out if that sounds good to you. That is Tangram by Smalltape. Next up, I've got the Mommyheads with their album No Quietus. This is the 17th album by this American band, and this is indie rock. They've got their baroque pop, alternative, progressive, and art rock influences. And I'm putting this in my very good tier. This is a band that I really enjoyed their last two albums, and but I don't think I've heard anything of any of their earlier work, so I've only checked out. I don't know their full catalog very well, but the title track for this one was one that I really enjoyed as well, so I was looking forward to this album. And initially, after the first two tracks, I wasn't completely sold on the album during those first two tracks. They're still very good tracks, but I was hoping for an excellent tier album like my favorite of the two that I've heard was Coney Island Kid, which I really loved. But at No Quietus track 3, the album really picks up with its waltzy 3/4 time, and then track 4, I'm Your Apocalypse, might be even better than No Quietus, with a great acoustic guitar riff, some odd time signatures. Yeah, so I really needed those two tracks in a row to really get me into this album. And then it keeps going strong, doesn't quite maintain the heights of those two tracks for the rest of the time. So I'm in between very good and excellent here. For now, I've decided on very good tier. I think I like this a little better than their last album, but not quite as much as Coney Island Kid. But it definitely makes me interested in hearing more from the Mommyheads. Next up, I've got Omnium Gatherum with May the Bridges We Burn Light the Way, the 10th album by this Finnish melodic death metal band. This is in my very good tier as well. And this is a band I don't think I ever listened to a full album by them before this, but I enjoyed the singles My Pain and Walking Ghost Phase, so I put this on my list. And the whole album here is very solid, very perfectly executed melodic death metal with great riffs, guitar solos, and yeah, if they could just get some great hooks like in Flames or Soilworks level of hooks, I could see them being an excellent tier, having excellent tier potential in this melodic death metal style. and I could see them being more memorable and getting even bigger. For now, just very good tier for me, but still a band that I'm interested in and I'll keep my eye on in the future. That's Omnium Gatherum with May the Bridges We Burn Light the Way. Now moving to my good tier, I've got John Durant, Colin, Edwin, and Chris Maitland, who released the Baldock Transmission, the 5th album by this project from the UK. It's a trio here, instrumental progressive art rock with experimental, ambient, new age, and jazz fusion influences. And of course, Colin, Edwin, and Chris Maitland are formerly a Porcupine Tree on bass and drums, respectively. Colin, Edwin, and John Durant had been making music under the project called Burnt Belief, and I originally thought this album would be released under that project name because it's those two guys, plus they added Chris Maitland on drums, but it looks like they released it under all three of their names as individuals instead of under that project. The first track here is an almost 14-minute instrumental prog epic. It's very chill, and the whole album is pretty chill and pretty sparse. Everything is played well, but nothing is fast. It's slow, it's atmospheric. Some of the bass lines are pretty cool, and apparently this is the first time Colin and Chris have played together in 20 years since their time in Porcupine Tree, and these are the first recordings since that time. So they went into the studio, they had no plan, they just hit record. So this is actually a live in-studio jam session, though there were a few overdubs done after the jam session to help out. But it's pretty impressive that this is all a live jam and improvised, but that doesn't necessarily make it something I want to go back to much. Improv's not really my thing as a fan of more planned out compositions. I'm still pretty impressed though, and it's interesting to hear. And if you like instrumental improvised prog rock, this could actually be like your favorite thing ever. So I did want to mention it because it's really well done for that category. That's just not my typical thing. I prefer the more planned out compositions. But if that sounds good to you, check out the Baldock Transmission by John Durant, Colin Edwin, and Chris Maitland. And last on my list for today is Finger 11 with Last Night on Earth, the 7th album by this Canadian band. And this is alternative rock with hard rock, alternative metal, pop, and post-grunge influences. Even a little bit of like a country influence from time to time on a couple of tracks. They had some slide guitar and some kind of more southern sounding thing. I enjoy some of Finger 11's hits, but I've never done a deep dive on them. They're a bit too radio rock for my taste, but I figured I'd check this out because I enjoy their hits and they are a Canadian band after all. And I like to support fellow Canadians in music. And this is kind of like the better version of what Nickelback could be if they were, a good band to listen to. But it's still not anything that's grabbing me or like too exciting for me. I'm just putting it in my good tier. It's a little bit above average radio alternative rock stuff, like well performed and stuff like that. But there's not anything too innovative here or exciting. But if you like that kind of radio alternative rock sound, definitely check out Finger 11 and Last Night on Earth. That's it for my first impressions on these 9 albums that came out on November 7th. What do you think of these albums? Let me know down in the comments which of these is your favorite and did I inspire you to check out any of the others? Also let me know, and if you end up liking it, hopefully you found a new favorite album for the year on this list. And did anything else come out recently that you think I might enjoy? Also let me know. And I talk about new metal, rock, and prog music as it comes out every week. So if you like metal, rock, and prog music, you're in the right place. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and stay in the loop when I post new videos. My next video will be in about a week's time in this series of New Music's Alive 2025. I'll be talking about my first impressions of new music from The Reticent, The Devil Wears Prada, Stellar Circuits, Myth of Logic, Of Mice and Men, and Steve Blanco. So stay tuned for that, and peace out.